The twin suns hung low over Haven 12, casting long shadows across the battered platforms and rugged cliffside terrain. Smoke from energy grids mingled with the starlight, painting the sky in hues of gold and violet. Amidst the chaos of alarms and flashing lights, Lieutenant Alara Quinn stood in the cockpit of her old fighter, surveying the approaching Alien Armada with a calm that belied the storm around her. Each ship gleamed with lethal precision, sensors scanning, weapons poised, yet she did not flinch. She had faced worse in simulations, in exercises, and in the quiet moments of life where instinct had taught her more than any manual ever could. As the alien ships advanced, she gripped the controls with steady hands, feeling every vibration, every pulse of the engines. The Armada assumed dominance by sheer numbers, their AI calculating probabilities, predicting patterns, yet they had not accounted for unpredictability, the kind born from courage, intuition, and the human refusal to surrender. She darted among asteroids and ion storms, weaving erratically but with intent, drawing enemy drones into traps carefully improvised along her route. Every maneuver was a test of instinct against technology, intuition against algorithm, and with each successful evasion, the confidence of the alien commanders faltered. Torpedoes and pulse disruptors became her allies, though limited in number. Their use was amplified by strategy. She fired bursts in seemingly chaotic sequences, creating phantom formations that confused enemy sensors and misdirected entire squadrons. Cloaking bursts allowed her to vanish and reappear, turning the battlefield into a living chessboard where every move was unpredictable, yet calculated with precision only a human mind could achieve. The aliens, despite their superior technology, found themselves reacting rather than acting, hesitation creeping into commands that once executed with machine-like certainty. Back at Haven 12, civilians and soldiers watched with bated breath as Alara danced through the void. Children guided drones across terraces, engineers adjusted energy grids in response to her signals, and scouts transmitted subtle cues that only humans could interpret. The colony itself became part of her strategy, a living, breathing extension of her mind. Every smile, every shout, every subtle gesture carried meaning, transforming ordinary communication into tactical advantage. The aliens could sense patterns, but they could not understand them. They could calculate probabilities, but they could not predict creativity, intuition, or courage. Hours stretched into tense minutes, and back again as Alara pushed her fighter to its limits. Asteroids exploded in controlled cascades, disrupting alien formations. Gravity wells were exploited to hurl enemy ships into collisions, while pulse disruptors temporarily crippled targeting systems. And all the while, she remained unbroken, her determination unshakable, her mind alive with possibilities that no alien AI could ever foresee. It was not just skill or technology at play. It was the essence of being human, a combination of instinct, emotion, and brilliance that transcended mere logic. The Armada faltered, their confidence eroded by a single human who refused to play by their rules. Fear, a sensation they scarcely understood, began to creep into their ranks. Commanders debated strategies, yet every model failed to predict Alara's next move. She was not only surviving, she was teaching the aliens a lesson they could not unlearn. Humans could not be reduced to data points, probabilities, or predictable outcomes. Every act of bravery, every improvisation, every heartbeat was proof that emotion could become a weapon, unpredictability a shield, and courage a force more formidable than firepower. By the time the last wave of alien ships retreated, Alara returned to Haven 12, her fighter battered but her spirit unbroken. Civilians cheered, engineers high-fived each other, and children ran to see her, their eyes wide with awe. The colony had witnessed a miracle, yet it was no magic. It was human determination, ingenuity, and the refusal to yield to fear. Alara had stood alone against an armada and prevailed, not because she was invincible, but because she understood something the aliens never would. Humanity's true strength lay in its heart and mind combined, in its unpredictability, and in its courage to act against all odds. As night fell over the outpost, the twin suns dipping behind jagged horizons, Alara looked out across the valley and allowed herself a moment of quiet. The stars shimmer in the distance, countless civilizations watching, calculating, and perhaps learning a small fragment of the lesson she had embodied. One human alone had altered perceptions of an entire species, proving that courage, creativity, and instinct could turn the tide against overwhelming odds. The galaxy would remember her, and through her, it would begin to understand the unquantifiable, unstoppable force of humanity. The echoes of Alera's solo stand reverberated across human colonies, and listening posts far beyond Haven. 12. News of her daring maneuver spread through communications networks, filtered through sensors, and transmitted by traders, scientists, and diplomats across distant systems. Humans who had long felt overshadowed by alien civilizations suddenly felt a surge of inspiration. Her courage, creativity, and unpredictability became a symbol, proof that one individual could turn the tide against overwhelming odds. Fleet commanders began to rethink strategies. Engineers began designing adaptive systems. And even ordinary civilians started seeing themselves as part of a species that refused to be underestimated. Meanwhile, the Alien Armada that had been forced to retreat over Haven, 12 deliberated in shock and disbelief. They had anticipated easy victory, yet one human had shattered their calculations. Commanders argued furiously over tactics, blaming AI miscalculations, environmental anomalies, and random chance. But deep down, they understood the truth. Humans did not act according to predictable patterns. Courage, intuition, creativity, and emotional insight dictated their movements, and no machine could replicate it. Across the alien fleet, uncertainty spread. What once seemed like a minor species was now a variable the aliens could neither control nor ignore. Alera, unaware of the galaxy-wide stir she had caused, continued her work on Haven. 12. Repairs, maintenance, and strategic planning consumed her days, but she was never alone. Scientists and engineers worked alongside her, adapting old technology to new purposes, while scouts tested improvisational maneuvers and drones capable of unpredictable behavior. Children, too, were encouraged to participate, learning instinctive strategy and improvisation through games that doubled as training. Every action in the colony reinforced a lesson. Humans thrived not by brute force alone, but by ingenuity, adaptability, and courage in the face of impossible odds. A week later, the aliens returned, this time with a more cautious approach. Their fleets no longer approached with arrogance. Sensors probed carefully, formations remained distant, and commanders hesitated. Alera anticipated this, using their caution against them. She coordinated mock retreats, false signals, and minor diversions, each move testing the limits of alien prediction. Drones guided by children created phantom formations. Engineers triggered controlled energy surges to confuse targeting systems, and scouts relayed signals that only humans could interpret. The aliens reacted slowly, awkwardly, their confidence crumbling as one maneuver after another revealed their inability to anticipate human creativity. In one daring sortie, Alera led a small team, 5 fighters, each piloted by young yet exceptionally trained humans, against a section of the alien fleet attempting to encircle the colony. They darted through asteroid fields, disappearing and reappearing unpredictably, luring alien ships into traps while simultaneously rescuing damaged drones. Every human action demonstrated a balance between instinct and strategy, courage and calculation. The aliens' advanced sensors and AI systems were overwhelmed, their predictions collapsing in real time. For the first time, the Armada's officers openly acknowledged fear, a foreign, uncomfortable sensation for a species accustomed to dominance. News of these victories traveled faster than any fleet. Across human sectors, colonies began to coordinate, inspired by Alera's example. Small teams of humans started deploying defensive measures, improvising traps, and using their environment creatively. AI calculations, once relied upon heavily, were tempered by human intuition and unpredictability. Engineers and strategists shared innovations openly, creating a network of adaptive defenses and offensive strategies that could not be replicated by alien technology alone. Humanity had learned to fight not by imitating the invaders, but by embracing what made them unique: their unpredictability, empathy, creativity, and courage. As the Alien Armada withdrew again, now hesitant to strike, Alera reflected on the broader implications. She was a single individual, yet her actions had become a catalyst. The galaxy was beginning to see that humanity's greatest weapon was not fleets, numbers, or even advanced technology. It was a human spirit, expressed through creativity, courage, and the ability to act beyond prediction. Every daring maneuver, every instinctive decision, every emotional impulse could shift the balance in ways the aliens could neither calculate nor control. By the time the twin suns rose over Haven, 12, Illyra's legend had already begun to grow. Scouts returning from distant monitoring posts spoke of colonies preparing defenses modeled on her tactics. Engineers shared blueprints for drones capable of improvisation, and fleet commanders revised their strategies to account for the unpredictable factor humans now represented. Even alien intelligence began to adjust, approaching human-controlled systems with caution, their arrogance tempered by repeated lessons in humility. Haven, 12 became a hub of innovation and courage. Humans worked together seamlessly, combining instinct, creativity, and emotional insight into strategies that no alien fleet could anticipate. Drones moved in seemingly chaotic yet perfectly coordinated patterns. Energy grids adapted in real time, and humans across the colony communicated through gestures, glances, and signals that conveyed far more than words ever could. The aliens, despite superior numbers and firepower, were continually confounded, their calculations rendered useless by a species that refused to be predictable. And in the quiet moments, when the last alarms faded and the twin suns dipped behind jagged horizons, Illyra allowed herself to imagine the ripple of change she had set in motion. One human, standing alone against an armada, had demonstrated the full potential of ingenuity, courage, and emotional intelligence. The galaxy was watching, learning, and, above all, beginning to fear the unpredictable brilliance of humanity. The story of Illyra's stand had ignited a spark across human space, transforming isolated colonies into hubs of resistance and ingenuity. Fleet commanders no longer relied solely on standard drills or simulations. They incorporated improvisation, instinct, and emotional intuition into every mission plan. Young pilots studied Illyra's maneuvers, learning to anticipate alien behavior not through prediction alone, but through creativity, daring, and a willingness to act against expectation. Engineers began designing adaptive drones, capable of modifying flight patterns and attack strategies mid-mission, mimicking the unpredictability of human pilots. Every colony became a network, not just of technology, but of human ingenuity, communication, and courage. Meanwhile, the Alien Armada, once confident and calculating, struggled to regain composure. Every attempt to engage human forces ended in confusion, hesitation, and unexpected losses. Drones fell into asteroid traps. Targeting systems misfired, and entire formations fractured in response to feints that humans executed instinctively. The aliens had expected logic, predictability, and submission, but what they faced was a species capable of turning chaos into strategy, improvisation into offense, and emotion into tactical advantage. Officers who had once dismissed humans as insignificant now trembled at the mere mention of the Haven 12 campaign. Illyra herself became both mentor and strategist. She coordinated with distant colonies through encrypted signals, guiding coordinated operations against alien patrols and resource convoys. Small teams of humans executed daring maneuvers, exploiting terrain, gravitational anomalies, and the limitations of alien sensors. Children, teenagers, and adults all participated, each action carefully orchestrated yet adaptable in real time. Humans communicated through gestures, tones, and even silence, transmitting complex strategies faster than any alien AI could interpret. The battlefield had become a stage for human creativity, courage, and emotion to shine simultaneously. In one particularly audacious operation, a human fleet intercepted a major alien supply convoy near a dense asteroid belt. Using improvised tactics, the humans lured alien ships into narrow passages, where they became vulnerable to energy pulses and targeted drone swarms. Every move was precise, yet unpredictable, reflecting the combination of intuition, emotion, and experience that no algorithm could calculate. The aliens, expecting rational and direct engagement, found themselves constantly outmaneuvered. Their frustration grew and with it a profound fear, one that spread like wildfire through the ranks. Across the galaxy, the legend of a single human standing against an armada had become a symbol. Colonies that had once relied solely on caution and calculation now embraced innovation and daring. Engineers shared designs for drones that mimic human unpredictability, while commanders taught young recruits to act boldly, to trust instinct, and to adapt under pressure. The human approach to warfare was no longer a secret. It was a philosophy, one that combined courage, creativity, and emotional insight into a force that alien intelligence could not comprehend. The aliens attempted to adapt, deploying more advanced AI, reorganizing their fleets, and altering attack strategies. Yet every modification fell short. The humans' unpredictability, enhanced by their emotional intelligence, rendered every plan imperfect. Courage, empathy, loyalty, and ingenuity, traits the aliens could neither measure nor predict, allowed humans to manipulate outcomes in ways that technology alone could never achieve. Every failed engagement reinforced the growing terror within the Armada. They were facing a species that could not be fully anticipated, calculated, or controlled. Illyra continued to push the boundaries, leading a daring strike against a heavily fortified alien outpost. Alone or with small teams, she leveraged every advantage: gravitational anomalies, asteroid fields, and adaptive energy grids. Each maneuver reflected the principles that had defined her legendary stand: courage, intuition, and creativity acting in perfect harmony. Alien fleets were drawn into traps, misdirected, and harried at every turn. Even without overwhelming numbers, the humans' ability to think, feel, and improvise made them unstoppable in ways that stunned invaders. Back on Haven 12, civilians and soldiers alike watched the unfolding campaigns with awe and determination. The human spirit, once underestimated, had become the galaxy's most formidable weapon. Training programs emphasized improvisation, communication through subtle emotional cues, and coordinated actions that machines could never replicate. Children learned early how to interpret signals, anticipate danger, and respond creatively, building instinctive skills that would serve them in combat and beyond. Humanity's resilience, adaptability, and ingenuity had become a blueprint for survival and victory. By the time the Alien Armada attempted another direct assault, humans had transformed from a solitary outpost defenders into a coordinated, galaxy-wide network. Every engagement reinforced a simple but terrifying lesson for the aliens. Humans were not predictable, logic-bound creatures. They could turn fear into strategy, intuition into offense, and emotion into power. Courage, creativity, and empathy had become weapons, shields, and tools of strategy, and no fleet, no algorithm, no council could fully account for them. Illyra, standing once again atop Haven 12's cliffs, watched distant stars shimmer in the void. The galaxy had changed. Humans were no longer the species to be dismissed. They had become a force to be reckoned with. One individual had sparked a movement that reshaped warfare, strategy, and perception. One human had shown that heart, courage, and ingenuity could defy even the most overwhelming odds, and that the galaxy's calculations were powerless against the unpredictability of a human mind. The Alien Armada, now thoroughly shaken by repeated failures, approached human-controlled sectors with unprecedented caution. Fleet commanders, once brimming with arrogance, were replaced or sidelined as fear and uncertainty spread. Intelligence networks buzzed with reports of humans outmaneuvering entire squadrons, redirecting attacks with improvised strategies, and turning instinct, emotion, and courage into tactical superiority. The galaxy had begun to recognize that humanity's strength lay not in technology or numbers alone, but in unpredictable brilliance. Illyra Quinn, though still only one among countless humans, became the symbol of this unstoppable force. She coordinated strikes and defensive measures across multiple colonies, her knowledge shared in real time through encrypted channels. Scouts and pilots across sectors adopted her principles: act boldly, anticipate unpredictably, and use emotional intelligence as a strategic weapon. Even the youngest recruits, trained in communication through subtle gestures and cues, could influence the flow of battle. Every human action, from a quiet signal to a daring maneuver, became part of a galaxy-wide strategy that the aliens could not decipher. In one daring engagement near a cluster of unstable gas giants, a small human fleet faced a significantly larger alien contingent. Conventional strategy dictated caution, yet the humans acted with ingenuity. Using the gravitational turbulence of the gas giants, they created unpredictable flight paths, forcing alien ships to constantly adjust or risk collision. Human drones, guided by instinctive patterns and subtle human signals, intercepted communications, created false targets, and disrupted targeting systems. The aliens, despite superior numbers and weaponry, found themselves reacting defensively, unable to anticipate the humans' next move. Every setback for the aliens became a psychological blow. Confidence eroded into fear. Officers who had once dismissed humans now calculated every engagement with hesitation, second-guessing their AI models. Algorithms that had flawlessly predicted battles with other species failed against the dynamic, creative, and emotionally intelligent strategies of humanity. Across fleets, whispers of Alera's exploits circulated. One human standing against an armada had become a galaxy-wide inspiration, a reminder that fearless ingenuity could overturn the most overwhelming odds. Back on Haven, 12 and allied colonies, humanity continued to innovate. Engineers developed adaptive drones capable of real-time learning and improvisation. Scouts charted unpredictable flight paths through asteroid fields and nebulae, and strategists incorporated emotional cues into operational planning. Children and civilians were trained in communication, observation, and improvisation, transforming entire communities into living, responsive networks of human ingenuity. Every member of humanity became a potential variable, an unpredictable factor that the aliens could not model. The climactic confrontation came near a densely populated star system. The Alien Armada, desperate to assert dominance, deployed its largest fleet yet. Humans, coordinated across multiple colonies and star bases, prepared an unprecedented defense. Alera led a core strike team, moving with precision and unpredictability, turning terrain, gravitational anomalies, and electromagnetic disturbances into tactical advantages. Drones and small fighter squadrons executed feints, diversions, and decoy attacks, exploiting human intuition and coordination to fullest. Alien AI struggled to adapt. Every prediction failed. Every calculated strike was countered or misdirected. Human pilots executed daring maneuvers, improvising in real time with courage and instinct. Engineers manipulated energy grids to create temporary interference fields, while scouts relayed signals too subtle for alien sensors to interpret. The Armada's commanders, watching in horror, realized that superior firepower meant nothing against a species that could think, feel, and act unpredictably. Fear spread like a contagion, undermining cohesion and morale. By the end of the battle, the Alien Armada had suffered catastrophic losses. Ships were destroyed, formations broken, and retreats executed under duress. Humans, though outnumbered, had turned the tide through ingenuity, courage, and emotional intelligence. Across the galaxy, colonies celebrated, inspired by a species that had consistently proven that heart and mind together could outmatch technology and numbers. Alera returned to Haven, 12, battered but triumphant. She stood atop the cliffs, gazing at the stars, knowing that humanity had not only survived but had redefined the rules of engagement in the galaxy. One human, standing alone against an armada, had sparked a movement that reshaped perceptions, strategies, and alliances. Across sectors, the galaxy learned a single unshakable truth. Humans could not be controlled, predicted, or defeated by calculation alone. Their strength lay in courage, ingenuity, and the unpredictable brilliance of the human spirit. The legend of Alera Quinn and of humanity itself became a cautionary tale for alien civilizations. Underestimate humans at your peril, for they wield a power no algorithm, fleet, or weapon can contain. The power of being human, unyielding, and unconquerable.